I've seen a lot of questions on the cost of the construction of a metal garage and kind of what they look like. This went up in about a day and a half, mainly because it was so hot one day they had to take a break for about 4 hours. But there were 3 people out and they had this up in no time. So my lot wasn't level where I want the garage at. The driveway goes down, so I had to bring some dirt in to level that up so that this end didn't get flooded out. It's about $200 a load, probably about 6 loads. The concrete guys came in and put the concrete in. It's a 24 by 40 foot pad with a 10 to 12 inch turn under, which basically just footings. And that was $6,900. The garage itself, 3 doors, 24 foot deep by 40 long. The doors are 8 foot by 9 foot doors. It's a 10 foot height with a vertical roof. And that was about, I want to say $13,700, right around in there. The place I got it from had to raise it up 1 more foot because of the clearance for the garage door roll up. And they pretty much took care of that cost themselves. I had a door put in, nothing fancy, just a regular door, but one of the things when you have these put up or they're building it that you want to watch for, and I seen this on another video and didn't really think about it because mine wasn't off. The guys that did this did a great job. Make sure, all the ribs line up so it looks aesthetically pleasing. Make sure all the little covers going up there, I don't know what those are called, just under the roof line that goes in and shields the crack in there. The corners, the covers, trim, molding, whatever you want to call it. Make sure below at the bottom that it does go over the concrete. But these guys did a real good job. I'd wondered why they had a chalk line going down, but after the fact I see it was where they could line up their screws with the studs on the inside, so they were all nice and straight. So the inside of this, by the way, I had the concrete guys put a little bit of a downhill slant where the doors are. The building company provided me with a drawing with how many feet everything was from point to point, so I gave to the concrete guys to measure that out. And this area here just gradually goes down. That way if it's raining, the water's going to go out and not inside if that rubber strip up there doesn't catch properly or gets old over time. Inside, the metal studs are 60 inches on center, which means if you're trying to put in a 4 by 8 wall, you're going to have to do some framing to catch those. Unless you can find some 10 foot by 4 foot or whatever you can find, then you can lay it vertically and go across the 2 studs there. I found some bubble wrap on a site that is 60 inches by 50 feet, 100 feet, whatever you want there. And it's not bubble wrap, it's the double bubble foil insulation, and they have it in silver, they got it in white. But that is something worthwhile to get and put up. There's videos on that shows how they've done it and the best way to do that. But when this sun's up, this place turns into an oven. So I had them come out today to do measurements to give me a quote on some insulation. I know it's not that big of a deal, but it's something I'd rather not mess with and have somebody come in and get it done as quickly as possible, even though I know I'm going to be paying most in labor. The roof, it's better to get the insulation done if you're using traditional or the vinyl back before the roof goes up, from what I understand. But I'm going to get some foam and have the roof foamed, the rest of it just traditional fiberglass with some sort of radiant barrier to help when the heat or when the sun gets out and heats up the building. Luckily the backside just gets morning sun a little bit in the morning, but that side and the doors and of course the roof get most of the sun, so it just has to be insulated if you want to spend any time in the summertime out in the shop. One of the things that I wish I'd known beforehand are these roll-up doors. They're quite nice, but there's really not much of a way to insulate them. I did get some of that double bubble that I'm going to put over and silver tape to tape that up along the sides to see if it'll stay. You know, adhesive on the door and then on the double bubble, with as hot as it is out here, I'm sure won't stay for very long, so we'll see how that does when I get them up there. The one thing I don't like about these doors is up at the top. You see how it starts to curve up and into there, which leaves a gap right up there going in, so it's not really airtight. I'm sure they sell something I can put up there to make it a little more airtight, but that part I didn't like, and I think the traditional doors would have been better in here or as a garage door altogether. You can put the foam in them to insulate them real good, and they, if you've got the weather stripping around them, they can create a good seal. But you know, these are good doors other than that. Don't get me wrong, it just would have been my preference had I thought about it. They did have to come in here and chip out a little bit of the concrete. I'm going to have to fill that up, but it needed to be down for the doors. Not a big deal. They did a good job doing everything. So now is just doing some framing, running the electric, and getting the walls up and the workbenches moved in. One thing about the electric also, there's probably enough space behind here to run about a 1/2 inch metal conduit, but I didn't want to have to take my wires out of the Romex and run it that way, although it really shouldn't have made much of a difference. I was just being lazy, so I got the 3/4 inch, and you can see that really doesn't fit through there. Even if I try to force it, it's not pleasant. I decided I can run it up and tie it off to these, or I could even tie it off to the top up there and then just run down for each outlet. Another thing I'm considering is taking out some of the bolts on the backside, loosen it off, and see if I can get that in there, and then tighten those bolts back up and see what that looks like. I'd rather run it lengthways here than have to mess with running it up there for my outlets. So that's the biggest things that I've had with this building so far. So a little over 21,000, 22,000, something like that, for a 24 by 40. There'll be enough space to pull vehicles in. There's enough space down at the end for a little workplace where I'm not bumping into cars and things like that. So we'll see how it goes as I get things set up with it, but that's what you're looking at if you decide on a metal garage or building of some sort like that. Hope this helps.